Good day, collective. It's your girl, Sadi Rose, coming to you with today's word. Y'all, I am of real belief that setbacks happen to us so that we can have the comeback. Like, it is inevitable. We have gotten really accustomed to pain and chaos. And I don't believe that is our regular state of living that God had intended for us. But because of duality, of polarity, of the way that things are, where there is dark and light, you will have times where there is more dark than light, and you will have to experience pain and challenges. And what's supposed to happen when you experience these struggles, when you experience these obstacles, when you're uncomfortable, is that it's supposed to be an experience for you where you're turning your pain into power, where what's happening to you is happening for you. And you are supposed to allow yourself to feel those things, to learn from those things, so that you can grow from those things. And unfortunately, we have had a lot of things happening to us for a long time, even if it hasn't been in front of our faces so that we can see it, right? Because we've been in the dark for a long time, y'all, and the light is coming through. And so now we can see things more clearly. And because we can see things more clearly, then our conviction becomes stronger to stand up for ourselves and to fight for freedom in our minds. Because, y'all, somehow along the way, we've become captured in our own minds. We've become slaves in our own minds. Like, the greatest trick ever done to humanity has been to keep us in a state of where our freedom has been taken and we are not aware of it, y'all. Like, for real. Like, that is what's been happening. And to get us acclimated to struggle, to challenges, to pain, and for that then to keep us in a constant state of flux, of anxiety. That's why you see all these behavioral health challenges, why you see all this addiction. That's why you see a lot of people who seemingly are walking around with no passion, with no ambition, with no vision, with no goals, really wondering why they're even here. Is because this is happening on a large scale level, and it has been, but it's getting really, really intensifying now, like to another level, because what was in the dark is coming to the light, and now people are understanding just how captive we have actually been held, and they can see the games. They can see that the system is stacked against all of us, really collectively, unless you're in that tiny 1% of the population. And then that makes people, emotional, and that makes them rageful. But today's word is turn your pain into passion, y'all. And that is so magical. I believe that the true magic happens when you can take whatever is getting thrown at you that is harmful, that hurts you, that causes you tremendous pain, and that you can then direct that to something useful, to passion, to focusing on improving whatever, like, for example, I'll just give you a real example of how my pain has been turned into passion. And by pursuing my passion, I actually was able to heal. The father of my girls, we were together for 13 years. He was my high school sweetheart. I mean, he was literally the first man that I met going to high school. My dad introduced us, and like, over time we grew apart, and over time when I went away to college, he changed. And certain things happened. He lost his father. He started doing substances. He ended up getting some felony convictions. And when I got out of college and we started, trying to start our family together, everything just kind of fell apart. And I saw what it was like for him as a Black man to try to do right, how try to, get his life together. But it was like having a felony conviction was a stigma. It was a blemish. It was like no matter what he did, no matter how good he did, he was always, even after serving his time, even after paying for what he had done, he could never get ahead because the system was rigged against him. One, because he's a black man, but two, because he had a felony conviction. And I was his woman, and we started having a family. And like, no matter what I tried to do to support him, it could not, like, it was not enough for him, because as a man, he wanted to provide for his family. That meant that he was going to do whatever he could do to support us, including doing things that were illegal. And that's what he did, even though I asked him not to do those things. That's what he continued to do. And it was like he went down a rabbit hole, for every job rejection, for every thing that happened with the cops, it was like he would just get deeper and deeper. He would lean into his addictions farther, and like the separation between us would become bigger, because in my mind, I was trying to help him, and I was like, I could not help him. I realize now, only God could have helped him. Only he could have helped himself to have the patience that was needed to kind of stand firmly in the face of opposition, of struggles, of challenges, and to not let it change who you are, to not let it further pull you down into the darkness of despair and hopelessness because you can't get that opportunity, and to just keep pushing, knowing that God will have you even in the face of vast opposition. And he didn't have that. And as a result, it was like, y'all, once you get caught up in the criminal legal system, it's pretty much impossible to pull yourself up out of it. And I was walking with him real time, seeing what was going on with him, including just like, on a behavioral health, like other challenges that he was having that just probably was never treated and that he needed help with. And I saw all this unfold. And unfortunately, we ended up going our separate ways before my second daughter was born. I started law school and went a completely different path. By the time he was incarcerated, because he was in and out the system, like I said, once they pulled him in, it was virtually impossible for him to get out of it because it was more fines, more fees, and he started to become institutionalized. But by the time he ended up being incarcerated, and he's still incarcerated today, we had been separated maybe 9 years. And by then I completely didn't know him. The person that I knew, that I had met and fell in love with in high school, that my dad introduced to, and he was the son, my dad was partners with him because my dad was a retired police officer. He is completely different. The person I knew now, completely different. And so that pain, and the pain of having to raise our two daughters by myself with no support, made me realize I've got to do something about this broken legal system. That system that sets up people of color and others who are impoverished to come into a point of contact, to have to deal with the police, to get that first arrest that then is also a criminal record. I've got to do something to change this new Jim Crow, this new system of oppression and enslavement of Black men, and like this lifetime stigma that really amounts to like a social disability that will drive them to do the things that, that, like, for example, the father my kids did, that will make them want to use more, that will make them go out in the streets more, that will put them in situations that will increase their odds of things happening. And I'm not saying at all that he didn't have to take the onus for what happened to him and the decisions he made, because he actually absolutely personally must be held accountable to God and himself for the decisions that he made. Okay, I'm not saying that, but I saw the system's role in his demise, as well as the people that I was around in the community just living with him, right, y'all? And I'm like, I saw that this is the new, this is the real battle now. This is the battle, and it's related to color, and it's related to poverty. And I said, I'm going to do my part, which is why I ended up doing the work that I am doing, to help people with criminal, people who have been impacted by the criminal legal system, who have been negatively impacted and their families impacted. And 1 in 3 in America have a record. And so, now I've had to raise my daughters. The fallout, of course, has been tremendous for them not to have their father, for them. And the chances of kids that have incarcerated parents go up tremendously in terms of their interaction with the criminal legal system. So, yes, I have dedicated a large part of my life to addressing those inequities and that oppression. And so I eventually, I'm an attorney. I came at it from a policy perspective. I started doing this work at the American Bar Association. I pretty much was underneath the presidents, and then I came to the organization I am now as head of policy, and I immediately went to work to provide access and opportunities for people with records, and to open up industries like healthcare that have been historically closed. I led legislation to reform occupational licensing, to open up careers that had been historically closed to people with criminal records, so they had a real opportunity that had never been provided before, across 100 industries, including the cannabis industry. I've worked to remove mandatory exclusions for people with records, because when people serve their life, when people serve the punishment, then the whole point of the system is to be rehabilitated. But if we continue a lifetime stigma, then how are they ever going to really be stabilized and really be in a position to help themselves and their families, y'all? We all make mistakes. And God gives us how many times to be redeemed. But we as a people are so judging, and the main people that are creating and causing the harm and doing the crime, they legalize the wrong things they do, y'all. And then they don't have to pay taxes. They don't have to serve time. They get convicted and they get to live their lives. But because certain people don't have as much money, and because of their color and ethnicity, their whole lives get to be ruined. And as a result, their families have to pay, and their children and the generations to come have to deal with the fallout of that. And then our communities are in disrepair, and there is no hope, and there is no vision for the future, because these are generations and generations of people who are not only having to deal with the negative effects of losing their freedom. It's the fallout of what it does to their income, what it does to their ability to access key services like housing, and take care of their family, to provide food. It leads to addiction, and it leads to mental health problems, which then will also carry with the children, y'all. It's a scourge. And that is how I have turned my pain into passion, my very real pain of losing the man that was my best friend and became the father of my kids. We're not together today, but I really felt like I could not help him, but I saw what was happening to him, and I saw what happened in our communities. And I said, enough is enough, and I'm going to do my part to make sure that other people who are ready to make a change in their life, other people who want to be, have redemption, people who are ready to heal, people who are ready to see themselves, people who are ready to do the work, to get to work, to go get help with their addiction, who know that they have some kind of problem that's affecting their well-being and their wellness, who want to get help, who want to talk to somebody, who want to be better parents, who want to be contributing members of the community, who want to be, to have a life of fulfillment. I was going to help them do that, and I was going to do my part to take down all of these systems that have been put in place to keep people down here. And I was going to do everything in my power to elevate them. And that's what I've done. I started off with policy, and now I do programs, y'all. And I have shifted the narrative as much as I can in the Chicago area away from that they're the problem to what is causing the problem. What are the root things that are happening that are making it so that people have a propensity to go into the criminal legal system. And so that is, that's the whole point of the model that I'm leading now, looking at the social determinants of health or health-related social needs, looking at their health, looking at behavioral health, looking at all the needs of people who needs to be addressed to be fulfilled, so that we can not only stabilize them, but so that they can thrive. So, y'all, I'm sorry. This is the first time I really kind of dive into the work that I do as an advocate and as a practitioner and as a lawyer. But I turn my pain into passion. And we all can do the same thing in our own ways. We can all take things that have happened to us, and rather than settle and let it happen, to us, we can take it and be a champion of it and help other people who have been impacted. We can share what we learn. We can do things to change their lives so that they don't have to go through what we do. We can carry it forward. And in the process of helping them, we help ourselves. But we just have to be careful not to let our own pain and our own trauma bleed out on them, right? Because sometimes people tell their story, and then sometimes we can start telling our story and kind of shutting them down from really healing. So be careful about that. That's just an example, y'all, of how we can turn our pain into passion. And that is what I've done, y'all. And then I do it in everything else too. That's just, I gave you a bigger example of why I'm an advocate, a lawyer, and a practitioner, to improve the criminal legal system today. But there's like every aspect of my life, I very intentionally turn negative things into positive. I am an alchemist in that regard, and I encourage you to practice doing the same thing. And it's not easy, y'all, but if you do this, nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop you. All praise to the Most High God. Love to the Mother. Peace.